in favor of Game Talents at the moment. The picks and bans are already underway. Nidalee, Graves, and Kindred being taken away by Game Talents. Once again, focusing the fact that they want to take away as many jungle champions as possible, whereas Ekko and Ryze are going to be the bans coming out from Newbee.
Yeah, no surprises. Newbee did focus a lot of their attention last game on that Swain pick. We'll see if they go the exact same route. But another jungle ban, which means that left up picks are going to be that Gragas, Lucian, Graves, and Elise.
You know, these Graves not even left up here. He's banned out. These are the 4 major champions that we see in the current meta. You know, it's Nidalee, Kindred, the S-tier junglers, and we see Graves, Rek'Sai being picked up here and there. All 4 of them are gone. Even these 2 teams know this is a very jungle-focused game here. Ryze, 100% banned in the LPL. He's not going to see any play anytime soon as Lucian gets locked in.
But I really like this pick against Newbee. Again, out of the... now Newbee have played 7 games, but previously out of the 4 out of their 6 games, they played Lucian. They really used this champion as a crutch to help Happy and more through their lackluster lane phase. So Game Talents, recognizing that PentaQ did phenomenally on it last series, giving it to him this game and trying to exploit that weakness again.
And this will be his 2nd game with Lucian, the split of the LPL. We have to see what Newbee decide to respond with, because with all the jungle bans coming out, a lot of very powerful picks are left open, not only top lane, mid lane, but also from the support lineup as well. They could definitely opt to try and take a jungler one more time here.
You could look for the jungle priority. Effectively, you have Lucian, Elise, and Gragas left. Swift, again, a very comfortable legacy Lee Sin player, so no surprise to see him go that direction. I'm a little bit curious on the Karma. Again, Karma, long-range support, offers a lot of utility. It's not that I think it's a bad pick, I just thought that they would prioritize the Bard, because this surely means that Savoki will take the Bard now, and we'll have the Bard-Lucian matchup.
And we saw Savoki actually use the Karma in the previous game to great effect, constantly trying to disengage whenever Newbee wanted to find those fights, buffing up his team when they get skirmishes too.
I almost feel in a scenario like this, what Newbee should have done is if they weren't going to prioritize the Bard, like you see the Lucian goes down, you don't want to put your bot lane in another 2v2, just sack it, look for a lane swap, and prioritize Elise to have the steroid on her spiderlings. But I think with the Lee Sin and the Karma pickup, it means that they're going to attempt to look for standard lanes again.
Game Talents picking up 2 more very strong champions in this current meta. Swain and Azir being picked up here. All 3 of these champions have potential to be picked during the first few rotations because they are that good at the moment.
Again, priority of Azir is that he can be blind pick, so you are correct. He's just that good that it doesn't even matter what his counter is or what he's going to look across from. This time around, though, GimGoon getting his hands on the Swain. Swain is incredibly dependent on not receiving a lot of pressure, especially in the early game, just because he needs to push forward to be as successful, make use of his punishing trades underneath turret. So we'll see if wushuang can set him up for the same amount of success.
Newbee on the other side, waiting to pick up their next 2 picks here. They're going to be going with the Maokai and Sivir as their next 2 lock-ins. Spawn is a very big fan of this trifecta of the Karma, Maokai, Sivir. Very fast. I'm going to run at you and lock someone down, team comp.
It's Newbee. It's the 5v5 comp. Again, we've underlined what both these teams are good at and how their compositions will be executed and what they're going to draft towards. And I think this also means that they are going to go ahead and lane swap. They would have great lane swap potential, especially because, again, the Bard was being covered. And Game Talents may actually consider this now and change up their support pick. Because Bard doesn't do well in a lane swap.
Well, let's see if Game Talents do just that. At the moment, they're waiting to pick up their final 2 picks. It should be a support, and it should be a jungler coming in here. Most likely going to be Elise, I feel. But for now, waiting to see what they decide to lock in.
You don't think it's going to be Veigar jungle?
No. I highly doubt that. It's not Saint Vicious playing this game.
I think it's... I like Gragas, simply because this means that if Dade chooses Veigar or Viktor, that there is kill threat and kill pressure on that mid lane. Obviously, both of them are mid-range mages, and Gragas is seen as kind of a soft answer to them, simply because if you cask behind them due to their low mobility, it's an instant death. So Dade's now like, okay, I see the jungle pick. What do I go for now? Do I look for the high mobility assassin, or do I think that I can sidestep the cask and take Viktor or Veigar anyway?
And I'm just really excited to watch this Trundle support, because now Quicksilver Sash no longer removes Trundle's ultimate debuff, so Maokai gonna get a lot of resistance and shredded just from a support in this game. And he's the big tanky member for the side of Newbee.
And I also like the fact that they're picking up Trundle in response to Karma, Sivir, and Maokai. Again, it's a run fast at you composition. Trundle can slow a lot of that down with a well-placed pillar.
We're gonna have to wait to see what Newbee pick up as their mid lane pick of choice, and it will be that Viktor. So Dade's gonna have to play this game very carefully against the Azir and the Gragas coming into this match.
Again, Gauntlet is thrown. Dade says, it's fine, I can deal with the Gragas. It won't be a threat. I'll stay safe for your team. Likewise, Republic going back to his double teleport Azir play, so getting to play that back-to-back, see if he's going to have another MVP performance.
You know, Game Talent sticking to the guns. Very strong side lanes. Lucian, Trundle, bottom lane. They've got Swain up top, the control control mage in the mid lane, and a great ganking jungle in the jungle. Whereas Newbee sticking to their guns as well. They want to run at you and team fight. Both of these teams have very distinct play styles they're going to be working on in Game 2.
Something that I want to see for Game 2, though, is I want Newbee to execute on a lane swap. I think it benefits their composition far better. Yes, Lucian is great at pushing down towers quickly, but Swain can really get punished here. We saw what Power V was able to get over GimGoon. Unfortunately, he couldn't execute on it, but Newbee can certainly punish.
Well, we're going to be heading into game number 2 between Game Talents and Newbee very shortly. Newbee dropped their first game against the currently undefeated lineup of Game Talents. They're looking really impressive here in the summer split of the LPL. And going to game 2, they want to try and continue that dominance. But we're going to do game number 2 very shortly as we load onto Summoner's Rift. It might very well be for the bad guys, but unfortunately they've caused us to grant another pause and a technical difficulty here. So unfortunately, we're going to have to wait a while before we get onto the Rift, but hopefully we'll be able to get that solved as soon as possible.
We can go ahead and talk about the compositions again, though. So Game Talents have Swain, Gragas, Azir, Lucian, and Trundle.
That's right.
Again, Swain is very dependent on pushing up against his opponent because of his 2 damage over time abilities that he can lay down underneath the tower and controlling that area. So what he does is he pushes the wave, he throws down his laser bird, and he throws down his torment, and he walks away laughing as you get to choose between taking the damage over time or trading your CS. Naturally, for him to do that, though, it leaves him exposed to easy ganks, which means that it's incredibly important for Swain's mid and bottom lane to distract, to look delicious, to draw the enemy jungler to gank them, as opposed to him being ganked, so he can get up and online into that big tanky final form.
Well, we'll have to see if Game Talent's GimGoon can do that on his Swain, and if his team can be the distraction that he wants them to be, as we are on to the Rift for game number 2 between Game Talents and Newbee.
Well, luckily for him, he's got an Azir and a Lucian if they choose to get standard lanes, or if we will see a lane swap initiated by Newbee. Again, Azir is going to have a superior push, especially early, against the like of Viktor's.
We're taking a look at the Keystone Masteries very quickly as we head into this game. Nothing too surprising. Further battle on Lucian, Warlord's Bloodlust on Sivir. We see these change quite a bit in Spring Split. And most AD carries opting for further battle instead, but Sivir bringing that one back.
Naturally, because Sivir is a 3-item power spike AD carry, she uses Warlord's Bloodlust to bridge her lack of lifesteal early on in her build. And it is going to be the lane swap initiated. So we talked about this a bit during Champion Select. I do agree with this. I think it's brilliant. Again, you saw the priority pick of the Lucian. You see that a lot of power is hinged on the Graves. That said, Game Talents are actually trying to blind match this.
Be pretty impressive.
And they will be spotted out by... Nope. They managed to duck underneath the ward.
Well
Stand
done.
corrected.
Newbee actually going to be running into the fog of war here. Instead, Game Talents are the ones that do get spotted out by the ward.
And this is how extreme Newbee want to dodge this. They normally, a lot of players, because the waves have already set, would say, you know, screw it, let's go top anyway. Instead, they're resetting their position. They're going to lose a lot of time on this initial wave, but we will get a lane swap scenario. Why is this important? Swain doesn't do as well into a lane swap as Maokai will, just because of double jungle. Likewise, trying to preserve Happy and more away from PentaQ and Savoki. They were so punishing the 2v2 the first game around. Need to keep them alive and online.
Big win coming for Newbee already at the start of the game here. We'll lose a couple of these minions right off the bat, but it's not going to matter to them too much. As once Happy gets into lane, we'll be able to start farming wherever he possibly can. And we will have a start of the lane swap coming from these two teams. There's going to be Sivir and Karma sent down to the bottom lane, reacting to the Lucian and Trundle being sent up into the top lane. And let's see where the lane swap goes from here. We check in with the mid lane very quickly, which will be isolated for some time. Republic up against Dade here. Dade already taking a little bit of poke here, popping a few potions very early on.
So now the question goes, you know, where do Newbee go after this lane swap? Naturally, it's beneficial for their composition for the map to open, because the less towers down, or the less towers standing, the farther you have to run, which means the more potent and powerful Maokai flanks are, as well as Sivir and Karma's mobility and augmenting movement. So they want to get to that big 5v5. They want to take these towers as quickly as possible, ramp their gold in kind of 2-3 item power spikes, and start looking for that 5v5, because game one, they didn't get it long enough in that power spike.
Swift, though, being very aggressive here against Republic, flashes forward, taking some tower damage here. In fact, taking a lot of tower damage. That felt like a little bit of a misplay coming in from the Lucian.
Yeah, Swift obviously on page, you know, we can trade the first blood here, flashes to give him a better Q, but Dade not burning any of his summoner spells. He could have used the Ghost if they were simply communicating correctly. A single laser and an auto attack would have meant the difference there.
And instead, that means Swift is not going to be able to get up into the lane that's being pushed now by Newbee, but he's returned for another gank here into the mid lane. Does have that ward still. Republic, though, being very cautious in this lane, making sure he's as far back farming as he possibly can against the Viktor.
Just making sure that he should be standing towards his strong side of the map, which is going to be that top side. You can see GimGoon going to be the big beneficiary of these towers falling down.
So is V. He's going to be the one that picks up all the gold for himself on that Maokai. Swift now wasn't able to get a successful gank in the mid lane, only burning the summoner spells coming out from Republic. Instead, he's going to be able to take away the Raptors from wushuang inside of Gangtown's jungle, but once again, Dade taking a lot of damage from Republic.
There's always going to be a question of how effective will Swift be in a lane swap scenario. We talk about how it's really important for Newbee to have an early power spike jungler, because Swift compensates for their inability to lane as strongly as other elite LPL teams. In a lane swap scenario, a lot of the times the jungler is just either power farming or making standalone plays on the mid lane. And it's just curious if this will affect Swift's mentality. He was obviously very aggro to try to make something happen mid. Almost cost him his life. See if he gets himself into any more trouble, or if he's going to be able to calm down, chill out, farm to level 6, and use that Lee Sin power spike.
We just took a look at more than he's been invading quite aggressively in towards Game Talent's jungle. Dropped down a very deep pink ward. Trying to spot out vision for wushuang moving around the map. So we're going back in towards mid lane. Republic still duking out with Dade here. He popped his teleport to get back into the lane earlier. Dade had to make the long trip back from base. But it's still Republic that's able to get the push down on towards this Viktor. Does have the help of Gragas being nearby this time round. Game Talents now, they sent their AD carry support down towards the bottom lane and be working on the next iteration of this lane, so trying to take down the second outer turret on the side wave.
Neither team is doing a great job, though, of catching the incoming waves, so they're not preserving the waves that they have behind them, which means that we shouldn't see anyone commit to a push through. Good news for Game Talents, though, is that they have control over the Mountain Dragon as opposed to a Cloud Dragon that we saw early on in Game 1. So I'm going to give them the initial advantage, unless Newbee can really make something stick here, either preserving their wave and pushing through, or possibly a successful gank on mid lane.
Newbee actually had a lot of pings going out towards that Mountain Dragon, but they're still going to have to take some time to take down this top lane turret. In fact, they might have to wait for the next wave here.
And it sounds so simple, but you lose so much time on your tower trading by simply not standing correctly behind your towers.
But Game Talent, something not to go and try and take down that Mountain Drake. Instead, they're just going to leave GimGoon down in this bottom lane, try to deny a couple more of those minions and also soak up all the gold coming in from the tower for himself. The rest of Game Talents went back to base, picked up a few items for themselves instead.
We'll have an... I wish I could look at Maokai. I was going to say he might have an extra wave to him, so Swain, GimGoon might be at a small advantage when all is said and done in these side lanes.
We'll see how that one pans out. Swift, he's trying to take away his wolf camp at the moment. Little does he know that the blue buff is actually being taken away now by wushuang. He's going to be able to smite this one away. Right underneath Swift's nose, he walks on over towards the pit, finds it's been taken away. More helplessly walking through, seeing the buff taken away by the Gragas. But still relatively even between these two teams at the moment. 2 towers each, 11,000 gold to each of these teams. Newbee to have a very slight goal lead, but I say slight. It's only about 100 or 2 here as Dade, going very aggressive against Republic, puts down that Chaos Storm, able to knock the Viktor out of lane.
Yeah, and not able to get the chasing laser there because the Trundle pillar managed to slow him down, so Dade not able to look for the follow-up kill.
So there's going to be Savoki and wushuang in this mid lane trying to farm up whatever they can.
The swap back, though, from Game Talents, again, control over this Dragon Pit is now back in Newbee's hands. They do have a bottom wave pressured very far forward, as well as more you can see on your screen laying down deep vision. He's
been doing that this entire game, more making sure that Newbee have the vision that they need to continue executing these swaps. As now Swift, More, and Happy are going to be down on this bottom lane, working to try and take down the bot lane inner turret. Top lane inner turret for the side of Newbee, still very healthy, and there's no wave crashing towards this. This could be a free objective going on over towards Newbee.
Yeah, there is zero response. Savoki and GimGoon are on this side of the map, but uncomfortable approaching it because Swift is level 6, so there is massive kill pressure if Lucian gets behind them.
Happy and More just going to add insult to injury as well, trying to deny its way as many of these minions as possible. The next wave for Game Talents is here, so the minions are going to fight that instead of the tower, and Happy will eventually take that one down.
So beautiful adaptation from Newbee. Game 1 to Game 2, they execute on the lane swap. Game Talents are trying to make a very late rotation towards the top side of the tower. Should be met, though, because Happy and More are starting their back, so it is going to be a tower lead overall for them. But more important, this punishes both top laners because you're not able to just sit in a lane initially. You have to get these extended lanes, find your freeze, and start farming yourself up. But a Maokai is going to be so much more beneficial, so much earlier than Swain on this low econ build. So desperation calls, and Game Talents are trying to set up a cheeky brush play.
GimGoon really needs to try and find a way to farm up in this game. He's now sitting alone there, but More, he's been caught out inside of his own jungle, gets ignited, tries to flash over the wall. There goes on the hunt, being popped by Sivir, trying to keep him alive. Happy gets the heal down, but it's not going to be enough as first blood goes over to PentaQ.
And again, desperate play, but fantastic adaptation from Game Talents to make something stick for them, which means they still have pressure on this side of the map.
With that pickup now, Lucian, he's going for the Yomu's Ghostblade Black Cleaver build, so that's going to help him out pick up that item faster than you would expect. Very cheap build coming in from the Lucian. He's already got the Serrated Dirk pick up.
Their Swain may not be as powerful as the Maokai right now, but they've got first blood. That's what counts.
They've got the Lucian. He's got first blood. That's what counts. You know, Swain, he's always an investment for later on in the game.
Oh yeah, but that ramp time, and again, Newbee, it's about getting them to these 5v5, these 3v3 scenarios. They know that V's in a more comfortable spot. He's got more farm coming into him. They know that they have a window of opportunity to contest this dragon, so it's going to be a very early and very free Mountain Drake. Newbee in complete control and executing on this lane swap beautifully early game.
It surprised me that Game Talents decided not to take that one down earlier when they had control over the pit. Instead, they just get out-rotated by Newbee in this match twice already. That was the first Mountain Dragon to get taken down by the side of Newbee, and the next one will be spawning in 6 minutes, another Mountain Dragon.
So back-to-back Mountain Dragons. Again, Ocean Drake probably the most powerful dragon pre-25 minutes, and the reason we say pre-25 minutes is because it indicates if you're in standard lanes, 25 minutes is when, you know, teams start to group up and really start sieging towers as bot.
PentaQ just caught way out of position there. Newbee just find a very easy pick for themselves.
But when your maps and your side lanes are opened up like this, the Mountain Dragon's going to mean even more earlier because we already have teams sieging. And again, Sivir, Lucian, Karma, they mean so much more in a lane swap because it's farther to run, and PentaQ just didn't even try.
Just dropped the ball there. No reason for him to be in that position. Seems like Game Talents just making these micro mistakes are adding up to quite a lot at the moment. Newbee, 1,500 gold ahead, an extra tower and a dragon to their name. So looking very strong just 12 minutes into this game.
Newbee really targeting what game talents are strong and comfortable with is now in the mid lane.
Dade actually going to get caught out here. Republic ults him backwards. They have Savoki working on him, trying to take him down. A teleport's actually coming in towards the mid lane as well. Republic will be the first to fall down as V was able to get the wraparound gank. Savoki trying to chase down Dade. wushuang able to knock Swift away as they try to take down these two members. Never move is going to lock him down, but V, he's able to take down wushuang. This is disastrous for game talents at the moment. The saving grace might be GimGoon, but here comes the comer as well. PentaQ gets the good damage down on towards the Maokai. Swift is going to have to try and run away. Q's on over towards an enemy minion and will be able to get out of there. It's still a 2-for-2 trade.
Yeah, so Newbee again trying to group up, look for their superior 5v5, 3v3, but unfortunately they don't have the strong members collapse well enough in game talents. Another great reactionary play, just like their brush camp. They find a nice collapse which keep them even and get their foot back in this game. Gold lead still to Newbee.
And they're about 1,500 gold still ahead of game talents at the moment. That's just a trade in kills there. They're going to be able to siege this mid lane outer turret. But Republic's moving back in towards that mid lane. Going to be able to poke out the remaining minions here. Swift now fancies a fight here against GimGoon. He's going to be able to get the Q down. Blocks him down, gets a lot of damage. There's two teleports coming out from both the top lane and Swift. He's going to get jumped on by Republic. Puts a lot of damage down. GimGoon now getting jumped on by V. The Maokai will be able to pick up a return kill and is trying to fight this Azir. And here comes Happy and more. Game talents once again getting caught out. Happy going to take a lot of damage from the Sand Soldiers, but it's not going to be enough. He will fall to V.
Republic did a massive amount of damage on the back half of that, though. Happy and more had to be very careful. And again, Newbee, map is open up. They're trying to find these team fights a little bit chaotically because it's not transitioning into any kind of innate lead. In fact, they're actually burning teleports and summoners, trying to get these advantages, but making their point.
Still looking a lot better from the previous game for Newbee. A lot cleaner coming into this game despite how messy, so to speak, this match has been so far. And for now, game talents, they're the ones fighting from behind at the moment against a Newbee lineup that wants to fight you constantly. Taking stock of the items really quickly, you can see GimGoon already got his Rod of Ages.
I mean, all of this fighting across the map is just purchasing Newbee's slight, like, wave control. Like, they get, you know, a free wave here, some kill gold here, and more fighting now in the mid lane.
And Dade there as well, as he's going to get taken down. 3 members of game talents able to pick him off.
The power of Gragas against Viktor. We talked about this when they picked up the Gragas before the mid lane matchup had been decided. It was throwing the gauntlet to Dade, saying, we have the Gragas, do you dare pick Viktor here? But Swift,
being really aggressive, actually jumps on forward, trying to get a kick off towards Savoki. Never move will lock down the Lucian, stop him doing more damage.
And Dragon spawning in 2 minutes, so we'll actually have something for these teams to fight over rather than just minuscule waves and CS discrepancies.
And we talked a lot about how, you know, Swain's not going to be the huge benefactor from that lane swap, but he's caught up nicely. 75 CS to both these top laners. Has that Rod of Ages completed here. Looking at the rest of his team. Stinger being picked up by Republic, looking for his Nashor's Tooth quite shortly.
A lot of the power back in GimGoon's pocket was the successful teleport on the mid lane play that kind of put Swain back into this one. So again, just re-emphasizing a great reactionary play from game talents. Coming into this big 5v5 in a minute 22 though, do you have some adorable people in the audience.
That is the youngest League of Legends fan I have ever seen.
I was genuinely caught off guard by just the cuteness factor.
I don't know where to take this anymore.
I was going to be looking
He's stolen the game.
I know. With a face like that, I can see why.
We set up all this narrative and then, cute kid, oh, we're done. Let's pack it up for us, Goon. Our jobs have been taken.
No, it's okay.
It's the next generation.
Fish, there's a 5v5 coming. So what does that mean that's important? It means item breakpoints are important. So why don't you take me through it? Softball pass. Softball
pass over to Fish. Well, take a look at those items really quickly. Finally, as he's gone back to base, picks up that Nashor's Tooth as well. And he's, not as well, he's already had that Negatron Cloak stacking for quite some time there.
Big thing is you have a completed Hex core on Viktor, on Dade, and a big 5v5.
With the Negatron Cloak as well.
That is
a big thing.
That is pretty big. No, Viktor's going to do a lot of damage if he's able to hit that Chaos Storm effectively. We've talked about how it's a very cost-efficient power breakpoint. So, unless Republic just makes a game-changing Emperor's Divide, which he did in Game 1, I'm going to go ahead and confidently say that Dade is stronger. at least in a AoE 5v5 sense.
Well, we'll see if that does break out, because at the moment, Game Talent is actually opting to try and take down the top lane inner turret instead, looking for more tower objectives over the dragon. So the second mountain dragon is going to fall with relative ease going on over towards Newbee, whereas the top lane inner turret will fall down for Game Talents.
I mean, effectively, you're trading the same thing. The mountain dragon is going to empower you to take towers. Why not just take the tower as well as the global gold that you have the chance to do? So I don't mind this trade. More important, though, is, again, emphasizing Dade. The Viktor has the completed Hex score. He's very strong right now. Probably don't want to fight him at a choke point. Let's just trade tower for Mountain Drake.
Game Talents are going to look to try and even out the objectives being taken down by looking for a Rift Herald pickup as well. Wards are going to come out, and lots of pings coming out from the Newbee lineup. They're trying to close the gap here, and that means Game Talents going to immediately run away and not try to take down the objective.
But they have moved into the mid lane, and again, I just have to emphasize this, Gragas. When Gragas was big and powerful, when we started having these ARAM scenarios, it's because he belly bops forward and he can immediately break these types of freezes in the mid lane by getting a nice cask behind this Viktor.
Well, let's see if wushuang can do that. He's one of the very impressive new junglers that we see here in the LPL.
I'm going to say breakout star.
It was kind of overshadowed, it felt, with Condi being in the lineup of Team WE.
I think he was just frankly overshadowed because he's on a team like Game Talents, but there we go.
There's that belly bop into a Trundle pillar there, and they're going to be able to take down Swift at the start of the fight here. Swain going to be able to heal out quite nicely, be able to teleport. It's going to get cancelled there coming out from V. And they're still looking for more as more has to flap over the wall. It's going to get jumped on by wushuang. The slow's going to connect onto Happy. Meanwhile, in the back lines, they're trying to take down the Viktor. Good flash coming out from Dade, able to evade the ultimate coming out from Azir.
We expect amazing mechanics like that from Dade, so nothing surprising as Game Talents continue their chase. They will translate this into a blue buff steal, but with Viktor still up and alive as well as Sivir, sieging mid tower is still quite a feat.
Game Talents pick up a single kill for themselves, but they're still behind in gold against Newbee.
The idea was solid, though. This idea that we're going to set up a trap, we're going to make a pick, we'll take a numbers advantage and translate that into mid-tier tower. The reason why Game Talents chased so deep is because they knew they needed to kill more. You have to kill Viktor, you have to kill Sivir if you're going to take a team fight into an objective trade.
It almost looked like they were going to be able to take down Dade, but that flash was just clinical coming off from the Viktor.
It saved their tower. So strong individual mechanics and a strong individual performance from Newbee members. Again, keeping them in games, but it's kind of been their lackluster teamwork that's cost them the series so far. Obviously, we have time to turn it around, but this isn't something, a criticism that we usually throw at a team like Newbee, formerly ChowGu.
But Newbee so far still looking rather impressive when it comes to their rotations around the map, you know. We're able to force that very early inner turret that also allowed them to pick up 2 dragons for free without any contest coming from Game Talents here. Swifty's found himself on the wrong side of the map one more time here. Moore's going to be able to help him out. There's that pillar being put down.
It's trading blue buff for blue buff.
Meanwhile, PentaQ's going to be trying to push out this mid lane with the help of Savoki, looking to try and get some damage down towards this mid lane outer turret. In fact, if he's left alone long enough, might be able to take it.
Needs to be very careful, though, because here comes Moore and Swift, which is why they're going to exit to their strong side of the map. And a good prepared wave from Republic mean that Game Talents can very easily rotate bottom should they choose to.
Republic's going to try and push this one out. He's a very nice wave, as you mentioned. V is here, though, looking to try and stop him from pushing any further. Good poke damage came out from Republic.
More important, great positioning from wushuang. Check on your minimap right now. He's cheating and shadowing on top of Republic, daring Newbee to walk into the jungle. So setting up a really nice vision trap. They could look for another pick.
Swifter is going to be able to bop here. wushuang, great timing. Stops the damage coming after the Q on wushuang, but he's going to get kicked backwards more now. He's going to get jumped out as wushuang takes a lot of damage on the Hunt Spin pop. Teleport's going to come in straight on top of a gravity field from GimGoon. He flashes forward, gets the never middle to Dade. Great pillar is going to be coming out from Savoki to keep him on top of that skill shot coming out from the Swain.
And this is what's put Game Talents over the edge and why I'm starting to question that they're not a bottom tier LPL team, but they may actually be the real deal. They are so good at setting up between objectives. They had 2 waves prepped and they baited Newbee into a trap and they're looking for more.
They're going to try and jump onto Happy. Here comes wushuang, flashes in. Good flashes in return from Newbee. wushuang is getting taken down low, but they've already taken down more. Looking for more people to take down, but they will settle for the mid lane outer turret instead. and a lot of low health bars on Newbee.
So a bit over-aggression does cost them their jungle, but again, the fact that Sivir is pushed out and more importantly that Dade is dead cracks these two mid towers, so huge swing of power for Game Talents. They're back in control.
Not only power, but also gold has been swung in their favor completely as they're 2,000 gold up ahead of Newbee, and they're 5 turrets to 3 at the moment. With Dragon spawning in a minute here, not looking good for Newbee at the moment.
And I just have to underline this, how it was all set up. Republic on the bottom side, the fact that they're running double TP with an Azir, which isn't something that we usually see. Azir, normally very fragile when he looks into a TP scenario. He's not going to TP into a fight and start laying down massive amounts of damage. He needs setup time. The fact that they're using it to set up macro rotations, to bait teams into vision traps. We saw wushuang shadowing overhead him, having the ward lay down, baiting Swift out.
And we know we talked about Newbee being that very strong 5-on-5 team, as we can see the gold swing that's taken place so far. And you know, Game Talents, we credit them a lot to their very good laning phase, how they like to control that. Newbee, they looked a lot stronger than laning phase here. Now it's the mid game almost, where Game Talents just come online, find the picks they were looking for. Like you said, wushuang getting good position inside the jungle to try and create all of those opportunities.
The difference between these two teams right now is that Game Talents understand how to play around objectives and Newbee don't. We saw it last game. Newbee were careless with their wave management. When they did manage to win a team fight, they weren't able to execute or snowball on it as effectively as possible because they'd have to back and reset their map. Game Talents, they're not to the point of like 2015 LGD yet with their wave management. But they're looking really good.
They
like,
certainly are.
Surprisingly good. It's not just a dominant lane phase anymore. With this series, they've proven that there's more.
V is actually still in base, sitting on top of that home guard buff, looking to try and find a teleport flank. This is the third Mountain Dragon. It's something that Newbee would definitely like to pick up here, but Game Talents not going to give it up without a fight. Republic, though, he's caught out. He's not in this position as the rest of the team. TP's going to come into the back lines immediately. Game Talents going to back off. V is going to get stopped by the home guard. PentaQ being very aggressive towards this Maokai, trying to shoot him away. Collins going to put out. Flash actually has to come out for the Maokai. Dragon will go in favor of Newbee. They pick up the third Mountain Dragon to themselves, so mission accomplished from the lineup.
Yeah, indecision from Game Talents means that, like you said, having those 3 Mountain Drakes, they'll do 30% bonus damage to towers as well as epic monsters. So Baron, very threatening from Newbee right now, as well as when they do immediately start sieging, they're empowered heavily.
This is, you know, not the end for Game Talents here. It's still a objective. 4 objectives. Mountain Dragon only helps you out take down more objectives.
But the thing is we just talked about how Newbee are actually very careless with their side wave management. So when they do win these team fights, because they're the kings of team fighting, at least that was the identity that they had previously in the LPL, now having 3 Mountain Drakes, it pretty much compensates. Okay, yeah, our waves are a mess, but guess what? We have all of this percentile bonus damage to towers that we don't have to immediately care for them. We can just bowl through on less creeps than we'd have to have before.
And it almost feels like Game Talents also have to be very cautious now. We saw in the last game where, you know, Newbee were fighting them 4-on-5, finding great team fights, and they left their Maokai up in the top lane, pushing, taking down turrets. If they do that again here, Newbee just be like, sure, we'll race you. We've got 30% extra damage to these turrets. We'll take them down faster.
It also means, again, that since they have so much more Baron threat now, that it's a much larger... You know, you have to come to this area because we could very quickly burn through this. And that's where Viktor, that's where Maokai, that's where Sivir want to fight. They want to fight in this Beyblade arena around Baron, this Venn diagram of death. Saving
grace, I feel, for Game Talents at the moment. They have both their teleports up and available. GimGoon and Republic able to split away from the team and join them at a moment's notice if Newbee try to execute on taking down that Baron Nashor or look to try and push for a turret. For now, though, very content with farming up. As we check in with these items really quickly, you can see Azir, good spike for him, picks up the Abyssal Scepter, looking towards his Ryze as his next pickup. Swain has already picked up his Spirit Visage, probably working towards the Zhonya's Hourglass next. Whereas PentaQ, he's picked up his Yoma's Ghostblade and Black Cleaver, looking towards his Zeal item as his next pickup.
And pretty much all that really means is that Azir is about to hit his big breaking point, Lucian's already online, and Swain's about to hit the big breaking point. So it's probably the next 5 minutes where Game Talents will probably be as strong as they'll ever be before that 6-item mark.
And on the flip side, you can see V, he only has a Spirit Visage and the Frozen Heart, so not a lot of health, but quite some decent resistances on the Maokai at the moment. That's all going to get stripped away if Savoki can use his ultimate wisely in these fights. Lucian, looking towards a very tank-oriented build, has that Banshee's Veil being picked up. Viktor completed that Hex Core earlier, now looking for a major ability power item pickup with the needlessly large rod inside of his inventory. And Sivir looking for that 3rd item power spike.
Yeah, really needs that Infinity Edge for the backline crits there.
Both supports also picking up the Locket of Iron Solari, so trying to mitigate some of this AoE damage that is prevalent in the solo laners of both teams.
Which means that Sivir is going to shine even more. Unfortunately, the Korean penetration build that PentaQ is running won't benefit anyone else on his team.
Yep. Unless you count Trundle's auto attacks, you know, popping in with the club.
That's who it's for. Savoki, I got you.
Well, you know,
it's time for you to shine.
Savoki protected him for an entire spring split. It's now PentaQ's time to return the favor, Frostgurn. Needs to help him carry. He's the highest KDA of all the supports right now.
He's definitely doing quite impressive things this game. As we have a little bit of a lull again. Newbee, they want the 5v5. Their comp is empowered with more space to run around. Wow, you just blew my nose.
Game talent, so they're going to be pushing out here still, also waiting and trying to see where they can actually fight, because they wouldn't mind taking a 5-on-5 with the gold advantage they have at the moment, but not necessarily on an even footing with Newbee at the moment. That's where they would shine. And you can see that with the patience that Game Talents have at the moment, warding it up, clearing out as many wards as possible.
It's Game Talents having superior, again, creep control and creating different pressure points on the map in terms of waves for Newbee to clear and to farm, and kind of dragging them around the map because they're waiting for a different objective to appear on the map. So another dragon will be spawning. It's no longer going to be a mountain drake. The three of them have already come up. Newbee has control of all three. But Game Talents can't leave the Baron alone. It would die in seconds. They'd shred through it. So it's this dance of we have to be near this area because we can't afford to leave it alone because the mountain drake is too high of a threat on your shredding composition. But what we can do is we can make the most of our double teleport, and we can be really obnoxious by continuously resetting these side lanes and forcing you guys, instead of to consolidate 5 people and pressure this Baron, to continuously deal with these side waves until, you know, another dragon spawns or we have another option on the map that maybe we can play into.
And they're going to continue doing just that. You can already see GimGoon making his way towards the top lane. V actually preoccupied with Republic, who is split pushing down the bottom lane. Both GimGoon and Republic have their teleports in this matchup. We saw the Azir, he was trying to pick up his Ryze Crystal Scepter, but was only able to pick up the needlessly large rod during his next back there. GimGoon, though, he's just picked up his Zhonya's Hourglass, so a massive spike for the top laner for Game Talents at the moment.
And just look at how cautious Republic is being. Now that he has vision on where members of Newbee are, he's going to go ahead and step forward and reset that wave. But like you said, making use of the fact that they have the double teleport. Eventually, someone will be out of position.
On the hunt was actually popped there by Happy, looking to try and catch out Savoki. Forced the Trundle to use his flash to get away.
Game Talents, though, continue to be patient. That's one ultimate down. Dragon will be spawning in 5 seconds, but again, just chipping away at Newbee, stretching them farther and farther apart, forcing Dade to respond to creep waves and trying to open up space to make picks.
That's actually a flash being taken away. We saw the flash being taken away by Savoki earlier. Now, Swift being very aggressive, looking to try and take down a red buff. He might actually pay for this with his life. There has to flash away from the cask, and we'll get out of there. But now, teamfight's being taken place. wushuang going to be locked down by V. There's the ultimate coming out on from the Maokai, trying to reduce some of the damage there. But a good culling comes out, puts down a lot of damage. wushuang tries to go back in, never move, going to land onto Dade. Suddenly, Game Talents looking to try and split up the lineup coming in from Newbee. Is wushuang going to be able to get out of that pit? Nobody gets taken down in that fight, just ultimates traded back and forth.
Keyword there was split. It's exactly what Savoki's pillar did. Game Talents also using Swain as a big front line, but caught out as they rotate back to mid.
V getting a jump straight on top of GimGoon. Savoki now going to get jumped on by Swift. Lots of damage being put down onto Lisa. Oh. Great body bop coming in for wushuang. Straight onto 3 people. That signals go time coming from Game Talents, and they turn the team fight around.
And the all-star jungler isn't Swift in this matchup. Again, wushuang comes up huge. Finding the belly bop on 3 CC targets underneath tower means a good cleanup, and now possibly a free Baron. Dade and more could look to contest, but I think they're going to give it up.
And look where Republic's standing. He has his ultimate available. He's full health. He's ready to stop the mid lane and the support if they try to get anywhere close to that pit. And now Game Talents, they have a 5,000 gold lead on their hands with this Baron buff. they're looking really strong 30 minutes into this game.
And check out this overreach from Swift. So Swift's going to go ahead, go in on Savoki to try to get to PentaQ, knocks him away from the Dragon Rage, but bam, right there, the flash belly bomb. A great response from wushuang. I cannot say it enough. This guy needs to be watched. He is an up-and-coming all-star in the LPL.
He's already proving that here. We talked about him so much last night, he wasn't even playing because Condi was playing that game. That's the member who was playing for Team W while he was on the bench there. So we take a look at the damage that was dealt in that fight. Swain and Azir way up there. And they're already wreaking havoc with their massive item power spikes coming in here.
On the other side, though, Happy is doing his job on the Sivir, which is what you expect with those ricochet bounces, but unfortunately Swift and Maokai not providing the correct line of scrimmage there, not setting up enough space and time for Sivir to shine.
Dade as well, pretty disappointing in terms of damage in that fight, equal to V in that matchup. You know, not really good when your Viktor's doing the same amount of damage as your tank.
And frankly, right now, we've got 3 Mountain Dragons. Again, the Air Dragon was just picked up from Game Talents, but those 3 Mountain Dragons mean nothing if you never hit a tower or if you never hit a Baron.
With no objectives on the map at the moment, it's going to be difficult for them to take down more. You shouldn't be there, my friend. As he's getting caught out by Game Talents. Carling's going to get put down, puts a lot of damage down on towards this comer. wushuang looking for that final barrel and will slam him in the face to take him down. It's a 4-5 for Game Talents, so they look towards taking down an inhibitor.
Good news, though, is that Newbee fans, you still got Viktor online, you still got Sivir online, so still an uphill battle in terms of sieging into this tower. But check out the waves. Again, Game Talents did a great job prepping both their side waves, so they do have another option if they don't want to sit mid.
The top lane is pushing back in favor of Newbee at the moment, but they already took down the top lane inner turret instead. Game Talents forcing straight on top of this inhibitor turret, already trying to fight V, actually getting caught out here. Trundle pops the ultimate, the subjugate going to rip all those resistances away from the tree as the inhibitor turret is going to fall down. Game Talents looking really strong. They want to just keep charging on towards the base.
Yeah, they could look to end this. At this point in the game, GimGoon and Savoki are just too massive of a front line.
And they're going to be able to rip through these Nexus turrets as well. GimGoon is trying to be the obnoxious strain that he can be. So Republic actually has to get out there. Happy getting some good ricochet damage out. Savoki almost gets taken down for that. The Boomerang Blades are critting left, right, and center. Swift desperately trying to see if he can pick up anything in the back lanes, but Game Talents recognize that and get the heck out of there.
A little bit of an overreach, though, so good defense from Newbee. Game Talents could have disengaged from that, picked up another free tower, particularly that bottom inner turret. But try to end the game. Don't get much. Still have the gold lead.
They definitely do. 6,000 gold in Game Talents' favor, sitting quite close to where they were when they ended the game against Newbee in the first match of this best-of-3 series. Around a similar timing as well. You know, 33 minutes into the game, Game Talents find their lead and working with that quite nicely at the moment. Let me take a look at the items that have been picked up since then as well. We can already see GimGoon looking for another big ability power item. Probably going to be the Rabadon's Death Cap there. Just like the Nidalee Large Rod and the Blasting one. Meanwhile, Gragas picking up some more defensive items. Lots of magic resistance actually coming in from this guy. So no armor being picked up except for the Frozen Heart at the moment.
And frankly, we can take a moment to kind of recap how we got to this point in the game, because Newbee played the early game so well, recognizing that they don't have the strength to 2v2. Yes, they have a very star-studded roster, but none of them are particularly good in lane matchups. Dade, never known for his lane phase. Happy and More, never known for their lane phases. It's all about these big 5v5s. But Game Talents are so much more surprising in the 5v5 than we really give them credit to. And they're also great at identifying what makes their composition strong and executing that. Understanding exactly where they want to fight and how they want to fight.
V, once again, is sitting inside of the base, looking to try and find a teleport flank here. They've pinged out the ward that's really deep, far behind this inhibitor turret, and actually going to commit to it.
That's deep.
He's looking for this, but he's so far away from the rest of the team. Game Talents have to try and do something now before they get collapsed on by this Maokai PentaQ. Diving backwards, V's going to jump straight on top of this Lucian, trying to do as much as he possibly can. PentaQ flashes away immediately, but wushuang, he's in the back line. Swift going to try and kick Republic forward, gets locked down by V. They're able to take down the Azir, but at what cost? As Swift, he's going down. wushuang, he's the next target here. GimGoon is trying to do the best he can to take down whoever he can in the back lines. He takes down one as he finds Swift. He's just constantly healing up. Eventually, Happy's able to take him down. That's 4 members dead from Game Talents.
But more importantly, the base is still bleeding. And yes, Newbee may find an ace, except Savoki's going to slip away into the night. but they can't do anything with it. That's the team fighting that we expect from Newbee. Swift coming up huge on his Lee Sin again, getting into the back line, picking out Republic, forcing off PentaQ, so he takes up both carries, but it's too little too late. Where was that play 10 minutes ago?
It's a huge flanking teleport though from V. That summoner spell is going to be down for the next 5 minutes as we take a look at the damage dealt. This time, Dade comes out strong, able to deal equal damage with what we see from Happy once again.
Well, it's super easy when you got your massive tank line set up in front of you and Swift hand delivers some fried chicken to the back line.
Poor Republic, they're sitting at the bottom of the damage dealt for his lineup, we're getting kicked straight into all the damage sources and locked down by V right afterwards.
Important to note, though, that was Swift's flash. I don't know why that was so hard for me to say. Obviously, a 5-minute timer on that, so he won't be able to have that up and available for the next fight if they fight within that window. On
top of that, game talents, the only summoner spells they are left up is Republic's Teleport and Savoki's Ignite and Flash. So, Baron's coming up in 50 seconds. The Elder Dragon will spawn in 45 as well. Mountain Dragon could definitely come into play for Newbee here with these two objectives spawning at the same time.
Again, it really just feels like Newbee haven't utilized their triple Mountain Drake at all. They've had one big team fight, and you have to look at that as kind of a criticism to V. The fact that Swift has to be your primary playmaker on the Lee Sin when you have a Maokai with teleport available, but such a deep TP kind of fumbled. Newbee need multiple members of their roster to step up into this playmaking position. It can't be all on Swift and Dade's shoulders.
For now, though, Elder Dragon's going to be spawning in 5 seconds. Newbee looking to try to take that one down. Game Talent's very content, actually, with just trading it for the Baron buff.
And this is what these two teams prioritize, the sieging potential from the Baron buff versus the combat stats, as well as the sieging potential of augmenting that triple Mountain Drake. It makes sense. Newbee, they're the 5v5 team. Give us the triple Mountain Drake. Also give us the combat stats of having Elder Drake. Game Talents, they're the smarter macro team right now. Give us the Baron buff to stall this out.
Game Talents pick up the Baron buff, head straight back to base. Elder Dragon live for Newbee at the moment, which means they get a half, increase the effectiveness of those macro dragons by half, so 45 extra damage to turrets here.
But also check out the turret buff there to backdooring those initial few hits. They didn't have a creep wave with them. It takes, what, 66% of bonus true damage to towers away. But as soon as that creep line showed up, immediately those towers fall. So Newbee's lack of wave management still punishing them when utilizing Mountain Drake effectively.
On top of that, if Game Talents can delay the buff out for a significant amount of time here, the Baron buff is going to last longer than the Elder Dragon buff will. So they do have a window of opportunity to counter-attack.
And Newbee needs to completely reset that 90-second window of having the Elder Drake, because they need to reset their side waves. We've said this over and over. Newbee, they're great at one thing, team fighting, but they are not great at controlling their map right now.
That's not allowing them to team fight effectively at all. That Dragon buff almost complete here. Baron buff just starting for the side of Game Talents. They're looking to already go onto the aggressive front, already setting up a wave up in the top side of the map, pushing up mid lane wherever they can, grouping up inside of Newbee's jungle, just waiting for the Elder Dragon buff to disappear from the remaining members of Newbee.
Still, question is if they can take a 5v5, Swift has his flash backup and available. And again, V's kind of dropped the ball in this Maokai. Yes, his KDA looks decent, but as far as him stepping up and changing these team fights, it's really been on the back of Swift and his flash.
Well, let's see what's going to happen here as that Dragon buff is going to be dropping from the 5 members of Newbee. Now, Baron buff still up and online for all members of Game Talents. They're definitely going to be looking towards taking down this inhibitor. There goes the Dragon buff. Immediately, wushuang shows himself inside the mid lane. Rest of Game Talents group up as well. There's a teleport actually coming in. There's Savoki. He's getting caught out. There's a turret coming down as well. V, he's being caught out. Subjugate goes onto him. He melts like a hot knife through butter. But Republic takes so much damage in the backlines. Chaos Storm is going to deal so much to him. He eventually goes down, but Swift, he's already dead. More and Dade, and the next target, Sivir's going to get taken down. And a clean, clinical ace comes out from Game Talents.
Game Talents just ripped Newbee in half. These were the former kings of team fighting, and not only were they beat in the team fight, they were beat around the map in a clinical 2-0 from this unexpected amateur team.
And that's the Nexus turrets going down as well. The Nexus will fall. Game Talents pick up a well and deserved victory, 2-0 against Newbee.
And the question now has to be, where do game talents actually rank in the scheme of things? We've had a surprising performance from the LSPL promotion, IME, but this former Energy Pacemaker roster meets Masters 3 in game talents is turning quite a few heads as they finally prove themselves and take down an elite.
And they're still undefeated here in the summer split of the LPL. Week number 2, they've only dropped 1 game so far, and that was to Snake, the first match they played in the LPL. Newbee, they've looked strong. They picked up a win against, they picked up a single victory against EDG. They were able to pick up 2 games against IG as well to pick up that best of 3 series, but dropping this 2-0 to game talents.
Okay, let's break it down. First and foremost, we had a triple Mountain Dragon available to Newbee. That, a lot of teams look at that, that's instantaneous. That's 30% to towers as well as massive control over Baron if you ever get a hold of it. Fact of the matter is, they never did. They were never able to touch it. That 30% translated into an easier Elder Drake, which was then completely wasted because they had 0 control over their side lanes and were just pulled around by Newbee, or pulled around by game talents. Game talents set the pace of that game from pretty much 10 minutes onward. Newbee had a phenomenal lane swap to try to shore up what issues they had in game 1 from game 2, but game talents were just a step ahead of them pretty much the entirety of the game. And that's what you don't expect from a low-tier considered LPL team.
And probably not going to be considered a low-tier LPL team after that match against Game Talents. In fact, after the run they've had so far in the LPL, Game Talents really look promising, and we talked a little bit about the context of their wins coming up into this match. Yeah, now they've taken down Newbee, that doesn't matter anymore.
That's what's so important about this series, is that Newbee, they're not playing to the same levels we saw QG formerly do, obviously a rebrand, but they're still playing well, particularly in their 5v5. And it's also how game talents are beating Newbee. Again, Newbee aren't necessarily known for their big macro map play, but for a team to be so decisive and so clean around objectives, again, there was no hesitation. We're trading the Elder Drake for the Baron, and we're going to counter it out by also pushing our side waves to make sure that they have to respond and they don't get to use that objective buff. That's high level.